This girl is taking like a puff a second off that cigarette. Watch her. She just got, by the time I pulled up here, she wasted a cigarette already. That's her second one. Watch on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 seconds. She's dragging hard on that thing too. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 seconds. 1, 2. Ooh, 2 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my gosh, she's laying waste to that cigarette. Oh my gosh, look at that. Whoa, she's killing that thing. That's her second one since I've been sitting here. And look, she rises up on her toes and she takes a drag sometimes. Rocks back and forth. It's pleasure. Ooh. Ooh. Here you get you. Get you some cancer. There you go. Suck on that thing. Oh my gosh. That is death. Oh, that poor girl, man. That is crazy. She's killing that cigarette. Look at that. Boy, she's just rocking. They must put some kind of drug in that cigarette. She seems almost addicted to it. Gosh dang. Look at, she just sucked that thing dead. Ooh-wee. That's terrible. Man, oh man. Okay, so I was right with the, man, I had it up in there and I didn't even realize it. It was a 48 turbine. You can see right there. An M8. And this is a 60 M24. And there it is, Garrett. So the good news is this matches this. This is 3-inch. This is 3-inch. Everything's good to go. Remember I was telling you about the 5-bolt flange, and any turbo guys will know this. This is also a 5-bolt flange, but it will not work on this 5-bolt because it's a Ford style. So again, sometimes these things are more of a hassle than anything, but the compressor housing on this is a 50, which is smaller than the 60, but in all honesty, I thought this was a 63 for some reason. But it was a 4860. This is a 4850. Just for kicks, I think I'll remove the I'll get the inducer and exducer sizes on this one as well. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, it looks like that wheel is physically smaller compared to this one. The way this thing ramps down in here, there's a little shelf right there. This one has a ramp, but it's more of a fluid drop. So, I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, I am glad this is actually smaller. That way, I knew 50. I knew this was either, I say I knew, clearly I didn't, but I thought this was a 63. I knew it wasn't a 50. 100% I knew that. But, so this should spool us up quick, plus the turbine wheel, still being a 48 AR. Again, the key, I kept the AR the same for the flow, for the horsepower I'm hoping for. But I needed the wheel to not be clipped. And we turn these things around here. And I don't know if you can see it in this picture here, but on top of these things have been cut. Okay, they've been trimmed, they've been machined down in a way. Where this one is just pretty much straight from the shaft out. This, if you notice, can you see how that from the inside shaft here, it actually angles down? So this has been clipped or cut. Again, good for higher end flow. If this car was going to be like, say, a road course where it's up in the RPMs a lot, and your RPM band wasn't limited to, say, like what we have, stay up in the RPM band a lot. Just the application's just a little bit different. It's not like I'm gonna throw this thing away. I mean, it's an old turbo, I know that, old, but I'll just rebuild it and repurpose it. My son's got an Ultima 3.5. We may do a single turbo kit on his and see how that works. But anyway, so just the little nuances, working through it. Oh, and I meant to show you. See the 5-bolt? I'm just going to line up this top bolt here. And as you can see, there's no way these are lining up. Look at that one there. So 5-bolt is not 5 bolts. So just pay attention to that so you don't get pooched. The only probably issue I'm going to have is I've ordered a flange like this, but it's straight, and I angled this for a reason so I could kind of move away from my trunk liner, the bottom of my trunk back there where the spare sits. So you can see it's angled. Sorry, yeah, maybe you can't tell, but it's definitely angled. It's angled like this way. You see how it's angled? It's not flat to the flange face. So since I ordered this piece all one unit, it comes off perfectly straight. I'm not sure if this is going to lower it down enough, but if not, then these Ford 5-bolt flanges are plentiful. 2.5-inch V-bands are plentiful. And of course, stainless piping's plentiful. I'll just make it all over again. But what it won't hinder me from doing is figuring out how this thing's boosting, except, well, I guess it would here, wouldn't it? Because instead of turning this wheel, it's going to be escaping through here. I was going to run this without any flange or anything on here, but I actually need that flange so it covers that hole, so all the available exhaust hits this wheel and spins it. Otherwise, it's going to be lost out to atmosphere here and act like an open wastegate. Can't have that. So with this thing apart, I mean, it's got all that, I don't know if it's some type of shipping oil to keep stuff from getting like corroded or whatever. I'm not sure. I'm going to go ahead and spray all this out of here. This is the wheel for the compressor, and they say this is a billet wheel. You see it's got a strange look to it. I guess it is. I don't know. And then on this side, just your standard look right here. Now I did measure these. Let me just set this back down. Everything's right except where it says it's a on the inducer side of the compressor, it's 54. Exducer is actually measuring 82, and then the turbine is 48 and 64. These three numbers are right on the money. This one here, the exducer for the compressor, it's actually 76. So, like I said, I was just curious. I'm not returning it for that, but I just wanted to show you that these, you know, once again, man, if they could just clean up their act, they would have a really good offering cheap if they could just fix whatever little things there are that don't add up. But anyway, I mean, it is what it is. I just wanted to show you the wheel measures, you know, compare them, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to open this up and go inside. I'm just going to use it the way it is and cross our fingers. Alright, so she's on for the most part. I just got to clock this up a little bit to get it off the brake line right there. Packaging is, you know, it's just about the same a little bit. Obviously, the only thing that's really going to change is this over here by just a little bit in size. Once I clock that thing up. The challenge came in when you swapped over to this. I mean, I had the way the bolt holes are on that old the Chrysler housing. Well, now I'm using 4 different bolts, and thank goodness that flange I put on there originally, that's welded to the basically what you'd call your header, basically going into the hot side. It ended up having bolt holes for both T3, T4, and then the Chrysler deal. So I'm covered on that, but it's kind of tight in there. This one right here, I need a 2.5 inch bolt to go through this bushing here, through this flange, through the flange of the turbo on the other side, in order to give me some thread so I can put a nut on it like that one there. But because of the wastegate tube here, I can't get it in. It's so long, I can't get it in the hole here and start it evenly because it's hitting that V-band clamp, and I do not want to take that V-band clamp off, man, because it was a nightmare to get on there in the first place when I did it. On the car, obviously. Outside, not a problem, but I don't want to take this whole thing down. So I think I'm going to get me some all thread to make it just long enough on both sides. That way it'll actually slide in there, and it won't have a bolt head on it to interfere with that V-band clamp. And I can't put the bolt in from the other side because there's just not enough room there either to get that long of a bolt up through there. So I think some all thread, and have about a 1/4 inch showing on each side. This one here, I was able to get the bolt all the way through. There was enough room to feed it in all the way from the top to the bottom, so that's our strong point. The other two on the other side are in, but they're just coming up from the bottom, and they probably got a little bit more than a 1/4 inch threads engaging, and I know that's not much. However, that's our anchor. This one will be like another anchor, and those other two on the other side. The reason being is because the bolts on the other side, they're holding this portion onto this flange. They're halfway into the flange face, so I've only got about half of the threads to go up into here to secure the turbo onto, and that's not a problem. I've already did the other two on the other two side. They went in more than I thought they would, and they feel secure to me. So, and I've got a couple lock washers over there with it, so we're all good on that side. I just got to get this side finished out. Like I said, all thread and a couple nuts, and we're good. So outside of that, it's not interfering with anything else on here. I had a little concern there for a second. I thought it was this trailing arm here, or no, I'm sorry, not trailing arm, what you want to call it. It was hitting here on this housing, and yeah, I could take it off and grind it a little bit without getting into the actual compressor, but I found that that was just a little off-centered from the top there, so when I moved it back, it cleared it, and that ought to be good. Plus, I'm going to be clocking this up, so any up and down movement here, and again, if there is contact, I'll just cut this ear off here, or grind it off, not a problem. So yeah, it'll work out. I'm just happy it went in easier. Got the turbo off easier than I thought. Put this one on relatively easy. Already swapped over the fitting here so I can use the way I had it before. I like the fact that I got these threads here to kind of hold on to it rather than you know, anything else. Outside of that, that's it. Once I get it clocked, get that other bolt in there, check it for contact here, we're done. Alright, so some things to do now. I've got it all fully like test fit on there. I need to take it off. I'm going to be grinding these little, where the white area is at, up to this ear right here. I'm going to be grinding a little bit of that off where the white's at, because I set a jack up underneath here, and I noticed if I actuated this arm up and down, it was like within a hair of hitting that. So I'm just going to grind down a little bit here for clearance, Obviously not get into this portion here, but just enough to clear it. Just give me a hair bit more clearance. The other fitment issue was right there, basically where the oil feed is at. This section here was interfering with the way it was before, which this is the check valve for the oil feed. It was over here somewhere. Well, now I'm going to come over here, I'm going to mount it up here, and then I've got basically a 90, and for the short term I'm going to use a little section of hose that goes from this, basically a flare fitting. This is a AN4 to a flare, and then it's going to go over a little short section of hose just from here to here, and of course oil grade, gasoline grade, and so forth. And that way I can get oil feed to it in the meantime. The only other thing I had to do is when it comes off, I got some all thread, 3/8 all thread. I'm going to stick up here, and it's going to become like a stud on both sides, and I'll use a nut on this side and a nut on that side. There's just no clearance to feed in a bolt from the top because of the wastegate, the flange there, the V-band. I can't feed anything on this side, and I certainly can't feed it in on the other side where the turbine housing's at. So all that to say, you know, and then once that happens, once I get this cut, I'm going to clock this forward just a little bit so I can make this seat correctly. And then after that, that's the turbo change. I will have to do something on the turbine side with the V-band flange. It turns out there's a standard in V-bands, 2.5, 3 inch. And of course, when I was doing this, I was going for a certain outlet. I knew that the turbine side was going to dump into a dual turbo or dual exhaust. And so I wasn't so much worried about the diameter, just as long as the diameter obviously was larger than the turbine outlet. So I went, you know, the 5-bolt Ford flange, the Ford style. I did find one. I'll spare you the saga on that. You'd think this stuff's easy, but packaging and all this stuff back here, and I'm trying to do as little as possible to change it. You know, it has its challenges. So on that side, I'm going to have to cut the 5-bolt flange tube that comes off the flange itself to the V-band, and then weld on the actual 2¼ inch V-band or whatever that I have there. Overall, the outside diameter of the V-band is 2.5, so that's why I got excited when I bought that one from Canada, from Exotic Speed, whatever you want to call it. But it's going to come to the point where I have to do something with it to make it bolt up to the exhaust, the rest of the exhaust down here. So change as little as possible. As I noted, these resonators here are coming off. I'm just piping it, and then I'm going to move these resonators forward, and I'm going to remove those exchangers that I showed you guys earlier, and then I'm going to put the resonators there, and hopefully that'll knock out the majority of the noise and allow me to get back my whistle, my turbo whistle, which was a part of this thing that I wanted. So anyway, but yeah, outside of that, I did watch a good video on how these things are made. Now this is a forged turbine wheel, I'm sorry, a forged compressor wheel, and makes it stronger, can spin faster. There's I forget the name of the guy, really good. He's a foreign guy. He's real astute at showing you the differences in what makes these eBay turbos strong and what makes them weak, and the differences. So good guy. I have to what I'll do is I'll link him in the description so you can go watch, because you got to understand why you can get a turbo that looks exactly like this one for $140, and why you can get another one for $240 or $400. In my mind, I'm thinking it's just from one seller to another just trying to screw me and give me a $140 turbo for $400. And that can happen, I'd imagine, but in the end, there's rhyme to reason, and it comes from about the internals, the type of aluminums that these things are made out of, the materials and such, the material of the turbine housing. I'm going to link that in there. You should get educated on it so that you make some wise decision if you go for an eBay turbocharger. So yeah, AR-50, hopefully this thing will spool up faster. I'm hoping that all this was worth it. If not, I'm just going to stick with this sucker, get the Unichip going, so I can run larger injectors and get up to, I think this turbo, from what the build is and watching that guy's deal, I think it's good for about 20. And then after that, it's over. But that's 15 to 20 is what I was gunning for in the first place. All right. All right, so I just started it up. It's turning nice. I've got some oil feed through the turbo, which is good. It's pretty dark, obviously. I need to change it. Outside of that, the feed's there. I got this little section of rubber hose like I said I was going to do. I may or may not convert it to this kind of hose later. Just depends. We'll see. I'm going to check it and just see how stuff goes. The wheel spins pretty good. Yeah, so it's running. I'm never really impressed when people just turn the thing on and it's actually running, but you know, for the amount of work I had to do to get this thing through. So now I'm going to connect the return line there, and then next up is I'll cut those resonators out, straight pipe it, and find a way to meld that to the outlet of the turbine housing. Now, summer, Texas summers. Let's just hope it boosts, right? You never know.
Those Chinese friends of mine